Acorn's clients are the poor and the underserved, but on the very bottom rung are the homeless people who populate San Diego's streets, more than 4,000 of them in the city alone. They are a problem still waiting for a solution. So let's talk about that solution. Ricky, last week the city council rejected a winter homeless shelter site downtown. Why?
Councilman Kevin Faulkner, who represents the area, took a stand against having the shelter in his district again. He said it was unfair to his constituents, basically, to have that. He did point out that he's in favor of eventual location of a permanent homeless facility in his district, but for this year, he thinks the shelter should go somewhere else. This caused the mayor to say, the council went ahead and agreed with Faulkner, okay, not downtown, but they didn't offer another location. This caused the mayor to ask each of them to offer up a site in their districts, which none of them did. So this morning, as you know, Gloria, we reported that the mayor is going to pick sites for them in each of their districts to move the conversation along.
But isn't that more of a gesture than anything else? I mean, he can pick a site in the districts, but it's still the council members who have to say yay or nay.
He brings it to them for a vote, and in effect, he forces them to take a vote on that which they wouldn't take an action on voluntarily. So we will get them on the record in terms of what his sites are, and they will have to defend their votes, whether it's for inclusion or exclusion from their respective districts.
All right, so I want to stick with this just for a second, John. Nobody came up with any sites. In fact, Council President Ben Hueso didn't even respond. I mean, was that good politics or bad politics?
Well, it depends on where you sit from the council president's standpoint. If he's running for office and he thinks that he might alienate some future votes in terms of his assembly race, then it's probably good for him to wait until he has to actually take a vote. On the other hand, we had Marty Emerald who said that she had identified 3 sites but wouldn't name them. So everyone else could have said they'd have identified sites that did not name them. And then we had Tony Young. I suggested we just give a voucher to people. But where would they take the voucher? Not every hotel or motel would be forced to accept them.
I want to talk about that voucher program a little bit. That certainly takes the onus away from the city council members. You say, give out the vouchers. If there are empty hotel rooms, then the homeless can go spend the night in a hotel or the whole winter in a hotel.
Well, part of his thinking there is that every night it's not so cold that they need a shelter, and the vouchers could just be given out on nights when they do need a shelter. Some of his forecasts for how cold it gets, I think, were a little off. But that was one solution put forward by the council. A lot of them also suggested sites outside their district. But I think, we're looking at a lot of this politically, but the fact is there's going to be hundreds of people who have nowhere to sleep during some pretty cold nights here
Only
in the coming
hundreds?
months.
Only hundreds?
You're right, thousands. And as some of the advocates told us, you can look at it as a NIMBY issue, but who, that is not in my backyard, but who would prefer homeless people in their backyard not in a shelter versus in a shelter? That's what sort of...
You know, what amazes me is that Councilmember Faulkner, who represents the downtown area, I mean, when you walk downtown at night, you see homeless people lined up on the sidewalks, wrapped in blankets or rags or papers or what have you. I mean, people have to be concerned about walking along the sidewalks and seeing this sight. Isn't it better to put them in a shelter rather than having them lining the sidewalks?
Well, it is better to put them in a shelter, but we got to look at the numbers here. According to the Regional Task Force on the Homeless, the 2008 profile, there's 7,500 homeless people in San Diego.
That's the whole region.
The whole region. And we're talking about perhaps 4,000 downtown. But if you go downtown and you walk, you see a site that is very disturbing, as you said. For instance, in front of the library, people are lined up because there are lights there. They are sleeping in groups in terms of safety. There are all kinds of issues that take place. We need a permanent homeless shelter, just as they have in Oakland and other cities, but we're not moving yet in that direction.
In all these years, though, John, I mean, you've been around for years, I've been around for years. Why is it still a problem?
Because it's a seasonal, cyclical issue, and we don't deal with it until we're actually faced with the coldness. If you look back at it, we act like it's going to go away, and it's not.
I found another interesting suggestion from our first district council person, Sherry Leitner, La Jolla area, and she says, sue the county.
She had a very thoughtful memo in response to the mayor. 7 of the council members responded. As you said, Ben Hueso, the president of the council, did not. But among her many suggestions of things to do about homelessness was to sue the county to stand up and meet their responsibilities. Now, the county says providing housing for the homeless is not their responsibility, but I do think the whole thing started an interesting discussion among the council and the mayor and the county.
Well, thank you very much, Ricky Young, John Warren.